Fox News alert, here we go. This time it could be for real. House Speaker Paul Ryan may be ready to leave Congress.
Axios is reporting this morning that he will not seek re-election in November.
He has reportedly told confidants about the decision and will make an announcement soon, we're being told.
That's right.
Timing couldn't be worse. Let's bring in Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, been in that position before. Mr. Speaker, at a time in which too many Republicans, from their perspective, are leaving, is this a devastating time for the party for him to go?
I don't know. It's devastating. I think Paul Ryan's a very talented person. He never wanted to be Speaker. He's really oriented towards policy more than the challenges of running a legislative body. And I think he may well, again, this is a leak. We don't know if it's true or not, but he clearly has been thinking about leaving. And I think he and his family might be much happier if he leaves. And he's got a great future. He's very young. He could easily end up running for governor and someday running for president. So he's got a lot ahead of him. On the other hand, you're going to have some people like Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, who now have a big incentive to go out and help elect candidates. So I know when I left, it took about 6 days, and they replaced me. When Denny Hastert left, who had replaced me, it took about a week, and they got John Boehner. When Boehner left, it took like 3 days, and they got Paul Ryan. The systems move on. Sure. The Democrats don't. They keep Nancy Pelosi. They bring her out of regularly. But for the Republicans, we've got lots of talent. I think either Scalise or McCarthy would be a very good speaker. Obviously, Paul is a unique person. He's a great policy person, but he's gotten deregulation. He has now gotten welfare reform with the president's statements this week. He helped pass the big tax cut he always wanted to help pass. I think from his perspective, he's gotten a lot of things done he believes in. And if he wants to stay, I think he'd be a great speaker for next time. If he wants to go home, I think we'll find somebody who will be a good speaker. And our job then will be to beat the Democrats and make sure we have a majority.
Why do you think he's stepping down?
If he does step down, I think it'll be personal. I think it'll be he's exhausted. It's a great challenge trying to lead the House Republicans. It's a great challenge trying to work with President Trump. And it's not what he wanted to do. I mean, he was drafted to be Speaker. Right. He loves policy. He loves working on big ideas. Trying to manage 200 and some people, take care of all of those different egos, deal with the White House staff, negotiate with the Senate. You know, it ain't, having done it for a living, it ain't nearly as much fun as you guys think it is.
Well, one of the names you mentioned, Steve Scalise, is going to be with us in about 8 minutes, so we're going to ask him about that, Newt. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about the lead story. It does sound as if an attack on Syria after their chemical attacks over the weekend. The attack is imminent. The president tweeted out a little bit ago, missiles will be coming. Meanwhile, Russia essentially is saying that if the United States strikes, that would be a war crime. Where do you sit on this?
Well, I think, first of all, the war crime was killing children with chemical weapons, which the Russians have either tolerated or abetted. Second, I hope that the United States is going to move sufficient forces into the region that the Russians won't do anything foolish. The fact is, if we mass our power, they can't possibly compete with us in the region, and we need to communicate very clearly to Putin that if the president has made the decision, if his British and French allies have made a decision to go along with him, that we are not going to tolerate any Russian interference, and that we have far more power in that area than they do, and that if necessary, we'll use it. I don't think we should allow Putin to have any illusion about trying to bluff us.
It's a key moment because they've had a great time flexing their muscle and trying to embarrass us over the last maybe 6 years, from Georgia to Ukraine. Basically, what are you going to do about it? They go into Syria. What are we going to do about it? You better not bomb. Sure. This will be the first time we react with strength.
Well, look, I mean, one of the reasons I did this course online about defending America is I think we Americans have got to get back to a habit that we're prepared to defend our civilization and defend our country. And that means if you come up against some dictator trained by the KGB and he thinks he can bluff you, you want to make sure we have enough power in place that he has no hope. We don't want him to be confused.
Yes.
And we don't want him to think he could get away with it.
Yeah, Newt, you just mentioned this online course you've done. Where can people look that up?
Well, then go to defendingamericacourse.com. I did it deliberately to set out a standard for explaining and understanding why America is a unique civilization. I think we're in a genuine crisis where so many of our schools refuse to teach American history, refuse to explain why we're an extraordinary country. And defendingamericacourse.com lets people get the kind of material they need, both to win arguments and to educate their kids, and to be prepared to defend America culturally and intellectually.
Right.
Okay. You talked about power. The White House is believing that the president has the power to fire special counsel Robert Mueller. Do you think he should?
I think the president clearly has the constitutional power to fire him. I think it would be an enormous mistake. I think he's far better off to let Mueller continue to be frustrated. The truth is, Mueller's produced nothing about President Trump and Russia. If you just look at what his original assignment was, it is a bust, it's an absurdity, and instead they've gone off trying to find ways to create noise. But in terms of what he was originally asked to look into, Robert Mueller's come up with a big, fat zero, and we ought to be honest about that. The president ought to relax, focus on being president. Don't worry about Mueller. He's going to go away. And in the end, this is going to turn out to be a great deal of noise about nothing.
But when you go into an attorney's office, almost everybody in the legal profession say this is extraordinary. And when you take his papers, you
Look,
take
that's a
the
different
phone out of his
question.
hand. But then if you're going to that attorney, and that attorney's protecting the president, and that attorney calls Don Lemon last night to talk about his innermost thoughts, you can't blame the president for being a little unnerved if he is.
Look, but the president ought to relax. He doesn't need to worry about being unnerved. He's the president. The fact is that Rob Rosenstein has not done his job. He has not supervised Mueller. This whole thing is an absurdity. We've now had one person, Paul Manafort and his wife, in their pajamas at 3 o'clock in the morning,
to intimidate,
having the FBI break down the door. We've had this real last week. Cohen, the lawyer, have the door taken off the hinges at 6 in the morning. Show me one occasion where, out of all the different crimes committed by the Clintons and their staff, they ever had that kind of treatment. The fact is, this is a left-wing bureaucracy of justice. It is anti-Trump. It is anti-Republican. People who think that the justice is blind, which it's supposed to be. No, the left eye is open, and what they have done ought to lead to a real debate, not just about Mueller, but about the whole Justice Department. And remember, it was Rosenstein who approved, apparently, going in at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
There's no reason to have done it. But I'd say the same thing about Manafort. How would anybody watching this show feel if you woke up at 3 in the morning and you and your spouse were still in bed in your pajamas and there were armed people in your room and they were the United States government, right, and they had no reason to do it?
Especially when they're cooperating.
I mean,
they could have just
evidence.
asked him.
All right.
They're trying to intimidate him to speak to Mueller or answer his questions. Does this change anything, Newt? What would you recommend the president do?
I think the president should be calm and go to the country. The president should demand that the Justice Department turn over the documents Congress asked for 4 months ago. The president should demand that they release the IG report on the deputy who was fired, which they were supposed to do in February. The president should demand that they release the report on Comey. You know, I think when Comey goes on these TV shows, we ought to have a list of questions for him. The objective reality is Comey's off grandstanding and making money, but the truth is that he didn't do his job in the Bush administration. He colluded with Schumer to embarrass President Bush. The truth is he appointed a special counsel in the Bush administration who ran wild. And the truth is he failed to prosecute the people in the Clinton campaign. And I think we ought to take this as a chance to educate the country about Comey.
Sure.
And again, to go back to my course on defending America, that's the whole point. We're supposed to have the rule of law. It ain't the rule of law when they kick in your door at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're faced with armed men and you have had no reason to be told you're going to have that kind of treatment. That's Stalin. That's the Gestapo in Germany. That shouldn't be the American FBI.
If you'd like to see what Newt's talking about, go to defendingamericacourse.com. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
You bet.